Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Make Do review. My name is Jack,
And my name is Emily.
and on today's podcast, we are reviewing The End of the Fucking World.
Season 2.
How are you today, Emily?
I'm very good, thank you. Very warm and toasty in the caravan. How about you?
Yes, I'm very good. It's been a lazy day,
Mm-hmm.
been a lazy week for me, and back to work tomorrow, which is no fun. But yeah, I'm great. Thank you.
We have had a lazy week, and this week we have seen the new series of The End of the Fucking World. We actually watched it on the day it was released, recorded the podcast for you,
Yes,
and we had a technical difficulty.
this is our second take, which was we were we recorded the podcast as you said on the 5th of November when it was released, uh, but the my microphone didn't come through in the recording, and that's why you should always test before you record.
Lesson learned.
Lesson learned. And now it's been a few days now since we've done it. Forgot about it. But we're back.
We are back.
And it should be working this time, we hope. So yeah, we have watched The End of the Fucking World Season 2, which came out on the 5th of November 2019. It is 8 episodes with 25 minutes each, and the writer is Charlie Covell. The cast are Jessica Barden as Alyssa, Alex Lothar as James, Steve Oram as Phil, which is James's dad, Christine Bottomley as Gwen, which is Alyssa's mum, and a newcomer to the show, Naomi. I feel terrible. I want to say it's Ache, but it could be Ake. But yeah, she plays Bonnie, which is a newcomer to the show. So what did you think of? Before we get into the second season, because we haven't reviewed the first season, which we both watched last year, what did you think of the first season?
Absolutely loved the first season. I loved the kind of vibe where it doesn't quite fit with any kind of time period.
Yeah, it's got that oldish look.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the kind of fashion and the look and the style of the filming as well, the cinematography. And I loved the characters as well. They're so quirky and different to anything that I've seen in a long time. And their dry humor that they have, it's just fantastic, and the whole storyline that they have. You know, there's obviously very serious moments, but it's quite funny and ironic at the same time. So it's just so different from anything that I'd seen, and it had a real indie look to it as well. So
Mm.
I absolutely enjoyed it. I love the characters, the storyline, the writing, the humor. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. It was you who actually recommended the show to me back when we were in uni. So this was like the start of third year, I would say. Yeah.
Was it?
Oh no, it would actually it would be the sorry, my mistake.
It would have been end.
It would be our second term in second year.
Yeah.
So it was like the start of our second term, or maybe coming close to the end. I can't remember. But yeah, you recommended the show to me at like 11 o'clock at night after you just finished it, and you're like, you should watch this show. And I was sitting in my student house, and I was like, okay. And I text you back within like what a couple hours later,
Yeah.
and I was like, just finished the show. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
um, which is such a refreshing thing, because each episode is like 25 minutes long, and actually they're a little bit quicker because there's no adverts.
Yeah. There's no
Um,
filler.
there's no
Is what I
filler.
find with this program.
Yeah, this program is straight to the point, and it's got such a nice pace. It's really ongoing. As soon as they establish the characters and everything, it's like go go go,
Mm.
which I loved. I was so happy it wasn't another like hour long show that you kind of have to like have the time for and like really power through it. You know,
Yeah.
it's like when we were when I binge watched Stranger Things within like 3 days. I was like really like, because when it comes to me, when I start a show, I'm gonna finish it as soon as I can.
He cannot just like watch a series leisurely.
No, I can't. I don't know what it is. It's obviously the me wanting to know what happens, and everything to be resolved. Um, which is why I love this show. It's so quick and it's refreshing to see because I feel like most shows will go for like that 40-minute mark.
Mm.
But yeah, I agree. I love this. I love the style of the film. I love how it's got like that kind of 80s, like early 2000s feel, but it's set in modern time, but it's never kind of established. I love the characters. It's so relatable because you wish you could be as bold as them.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they go off and do all these crazy things, and you're like, oh, I wish I could do that
They
in
are
a way.
unapologetically themselves, aren't
Yeah,
they?
exactly. They just are done with everyone and everything, which I would say is like the most relatable thing for like a teenager.
Mm. Mm.
Definitely when I was younger, I felt like I was done with everyone and done with the world, and I just want, it's like you want to rebel and like stand up for yourself
Yeah.
and not filter yourself either. But yeah, what would you give season 1 out of 5?
Season 1 was 5 out of 5 for me. Absolutely loved it. I can't really fault it, to be honest. Um, yeah, no, I can't really think of anything. I really want to go back and rewatch the first series now
Yeah,
after watching the second one, just to go back over everything that was referenced and kind of see how the characters have grown and stuff.
yeah, definitely. Um, I would give season 1 probably like a 4.5. I wouldn't say it's the most perfect show or flawless show I've ever seen, but it's definitely the most different show. It kind of stands out on its own.
Yeah, it does.
I feel like it's like a modern day Bonnie and Clyde,
Yeah.
set in Britain, um, which I love. I love British comedy. I think, no offense, I think British comedy is far superior to American comedy.
It's a bit more sophisticated, isn't it?
It's laughing at someone else's misery, which I absolutely love because it's relatable. Because in the UK, if you don't laugh, you just cry.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It is one of those.
yeah, definitely. So let's move on to season 2. We're going to fully spoil. Probably we'll go back to the first season as well, so we'll spoil both seasons
Yeah.
from now on. So if you haven't seen the show, please watch it. It's on Netflix. It's on Channel 4 OD. You know, you can't miss it.
And they're as you said, they're short episodes. You have no excuse to not fit at
We-
least a couple of episodes into your day.
You can finish it in a day easily. It does not take so much time out of your day,
No.
and it's definitely worth a watch for a quirky show. So yeah, what did you think of the second season?
The second season was really good. I don't think it was quite as good as the first season, but I feel like that might be because this concept and the characters were so different and unique, and in the first series you get introduced to that, whereas the second series leads on, or whether that's why it's not as like exciting. But I liked the concepts that were explored in this one. I liked the new character Bonnie. I really enjoyed kind of the arc of where the series then ends and where that might lead. I'm excited about that if they do decide to do another series.
Mm.
And again, I felt like the characters kind of grew up a bit. And also because of the cliffhanger in the first series, like the beginning's just awesome as well because you're discovering what's happened since. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. What about you?
Uh, I really enjoyed this season. Definitely not as much as the first season. It was definitely a season that it definitely would have been a struggle to surpass the first season.
Yeah.
But it's still got the same charm. The cinematography is fantastic. The soundtrack is amazing. I absolutely love the feel, and the tone of this series. And I do like where they went with it
Mm.
to some extent. I enjoyed, like seeing the two characters come back together, because obviously it begins with the establishing that they've not seen each other within like 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
And obviously with Alyssa's case, she doesn't want to see James, whereas James is desperate to see her again. Excuse me. But yeah, I love that aspect of them coming back together, and them trying to get in sync again. Because the first season is about them figuring each other out and
Yeah.
trying to like get along with each other because they pretty much hate each other, but they're kind of forcing themselves to like each other. Because if you didn't know, in the first season, sorry, this is why you shouldn't eat before a podcast. I'm all stuffed up. Anyway,
Moving on.
moving on. Yeah, if you didn't know, James was trying to murder um,
Alyssa.
Alyssa.
Yeah. He felt like he was a psychopath and that he wanted to murder someone.
So essentially, the whole premise of the first season is James is, he thinks he's a psychopath, and now he's found someone. And no, he thinks he's a psychopath, and he's ready to move up in his psychopath ranks.
Yeah, from killing little animals.
Killing animals, hurting himself to feel like some form of pain, to now murder a human being because he thinks that's the next step to make him feel better. And now Alyssa comes along, who's like a kind of rebel angst teen. She's a new student to a school as well.
Yeah.
She has like a horrible family that she doesn't like. Like, would you say she was like privileged, wasn't she?
Yeah.
But she doesn't want to be that way. And she doesn't know her dad. And the premise is she needs someone to come with her on this road trip to find her real father.
Yeah.
And she meets James, and then she thinks he'll do, because there's something weird about him as well. And then for James, it's like, yes,
A target.
a target. And then they bond together in like a weird way. They hate each other all the time, and then and then they become closer and involved in a murder that James caused. And now they're on the run.
Which is why then in season 2, because they have been separated, as you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
Their whole dynamics is trying to figure each other out again and trying to kind of make up for the time that's been lost and what's happened.
And to get over like what they've done as well.
Yeah.
Because they're suffering for it and they're paying for it as well.
Yeah.
So this season kicks off by just starting with a new character, which is Bonnie. And she's kind of in a similar way as them, where she's brought up. She has a bad life with a terrible mother.
Yeah.
Who she blames her for not going to university and having a great life, essentially, because she was pregnant with her.
And she punishes her. So whenever she does anything wrong or doesn't get something right, she'll punish her. So for example, she doesn't get the capital cities of a country right. So the mum cuts off the head of her favourite stuffed animal. And then when she's a bit older, her mum finds a lipstick that she has, and makes her eat it because lipstick and things like that is for whores in her eyes. So yeah, that's how Bonnie is brought up.
It's weird because it feels really real, because I feel like I've known people who have like families like that.
Yeah, who are really over the top with punishments and stuff.
And taking and not letting their children be who they want to be.
Yeah.
They have like an image of what they want their child to be, and it's brutal, and it can really cause damage to people, especially as they get older. So with her introduction, it is essentially she fails her exams because I'm assuming stress. And then, but she gets a job at a university anyway. She says it is the same thing, and now she sneaks into classes to make do. I couldn't get if her mum knew she worked
her
that way, or
didn't know because she faked. She told her mum that she got all A's in her exams when she didn't. She failed them all. So her mum then thinks that she's gone to university when she's actually working there.
Yeah.
That was
Okay.
it.
Yeah. But what we see is her professor, well, her, the teacher in that class is actually the man who James and Alyssa killed,
So we know where that's going.
which is a great thing. As soon as I saw where it was going, I was like, right, brilliant,
Yeah.
because I love when shows go back to something, like that isn't like fully finished, like a story that's not finished, and now they go back to it in the next season, and then it's all about that,
And it makes sense.
and it makes
works.
sense. It
Yeah.
totally worked, which is what kept me really interested in this season.
So the professor realizes that Bonnie isn't a student and that she actually works there, and he tells her she can't come to his lectures anymore. And the first kind of instance of her being real psycho is that she then takes a poster for his book and smears it with human feces, and he comes in.
Shit.
Yeah, he comes into the library and is like, was this you?
Wait,
Like,
wait,
is
wait.
it
He
human?
comes into the library with the book and poster covered in shit.
Yeah.
He's been carrying that about.
And he basically confronts her and says, I respect that. I respect, the lengths you're willing to go to like prove yourself. Bit strange.
I know, it's like, how it's like when like a kid stands up to like a bully or something, and then they're like, kid, I respect that. It's just bizarre, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's like, yeah, fair enough, like standing up for yourself, yeah, I respect that. But the way she stands up for
I know.
herself,
It's a bit psycho, isn't it?
Yeah.
But there we go.
yeah, because he even asks her, it's like, is this yours? Maybe.
So anyway, he then agrees that she can attend his classes if she has a drink with him every week, which ends up being obviously more than just a drink. But she's happy about it, and she thinks that they're kind of like in a relationship and in love. And then one day she sees that another girl's in his house with him, and he lies and says that girl said that she wanted help for an exam, and then she's come to the house and said that she's going to blackmail him and accuse him of all these different things if he doesn't like help her do well. And so Bonnie decides to go and run this girl over and kill her.
And there you go.
So she goes
There's
to
another
prison.
there's another psychopath.
Yeah, so another psychopath is born. She's in prison.
She's now part of the end of the fucking world family.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, and while she's in prison, she gets the news that Clive, the professor, has been killed by Alyssa and James, and that is the link.
And that's that's the premise. Now she's after them.
Because they killed the love of her life.
Yeah, and obviously all she knows is they murdered them, and she,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much the premise of the show. Did you have any like favorite moments, or least favorite moments?
I did. So, one of my favorite moments, let me try and do this in order of when it happens. One of my favorite moments is when James and Alyssa are waiting for the car, like compound or whatever, to shut,
Yeah.
so they can go and get James's car. And
Uh-huh.
Alyssa goes to sleep, and he like puts his jacket over her, and then he like goes, "I love you," and then she shoots up like, "What?" And he's like, "Oh, it's time to go." I
Yeah, he's
just-
like, it's time to go, and he walks off.
It's like such a sweet, tender moment, and then he like stands up and like it's like, oh, a bit flustered. That was just such a sweet little moment. And of course that's so early in with them reuniting as well.
yeah,
it's
yeah,
quite funny.
yeah. It's a bit mental.
And then another one is at the end when the police officer comes into the cafe. He's been called. They don't know who called, but he's been called to the cafe, and he sees Bonnie and Alyssa, and he's just completely oblivious to everything, and it's like so tense. Like we've seen the build up, it's really tense, and he just comes in as like, oh, everything seems all right. Like I'll have a bit of apple pie, and can I get some cream with the apple pie? And Alyssa gives him like
Yeah.
the tiniest squirt. And then it's not until he's like she even writes him a note like on the receipt
Help
being like
me.
help me, and gives it to him, and he's like, oh, I don't need that, and she's like, no, but like what about your expenses? And he's like, I'm gonna pretend you didn't say that. And it's not until he's like walking out that he sees Bonnie hide the gun, and then as he turns, he like looks at Alyssa's face, and she looks like scared shitless, that he kind of realizes, and he's like, oh, you guys stay safe, and then he leaves, and he's like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Like, so now he knows he has to do something.
Yeah.
It's just so funny. It just breaks that tension really well.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I have a few favorite moments, but before I get to that, I want to introduce my new segment to the show,
Oh,
and it's called Did You Know? And I have a few facts here, and I'm pretty sure you do as well.
I do.
Yeah, amazing. So we're gonna sprinkle in from now on little facts about the movies or TV shows that we've just seen, to make it a little bit interesting, just a little nugget of information for you. How's that sound?
That sounds fantastic. Thank you.
Amazing. Did you know that the show did a short film before starting the series, which is considered the pilot of the show, and it starred Jessica Barden, who's the only person who reprised her role as Alyssa into the series, and Craig Roberts, who played James. And if you don't know who Craig Roberts is, he's in one of my favourite films called Submarine.
Yeah, I think I would love to find the short film and watch it, because I wonder how he played the character.
I have tried so hard to find it, and I cannot find it anywhere. And I don't know where it was shown. I don't know if they just made the short film and then showed it to like companies like Channel 4 or whatever, Netflix, and then that was that. They never released it, and then they made the show.
Maybe.
But yeah, it's essentially the first episode, but it's just got Craig Roberts in it instead, which is crazy. Anyway, my favorite moments. Yeah, I do have a few. Let me get my notebook here. Yeah, one of my favorite moments was actually both my favorite moments are like pretty much. I think they're both in the they're both in the last. No.
We'll get to it in a second.
They're both at the end. I was about to say they're both in the last episode, but they're not, because one of them I thought was like real, like what happened was real, but then I was like, no. There's one more episode to go. They won't do that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. My favorite moment, well, one of them is Bonnie has them like in a not hostage.
James and Alyssa, yeah.
Yeah, they have Bonnie has James and Alyssa in the cafe. She's got a gun. It's a hostile situation. She's finally there. She's finally picked her moment when she's gonna kill the two of them. But first, she wants to hear their side of the story, because she wants to know why they did it.
Yeah, why they killed him.
Straight up, Alyssa in her like deadpan monotone voice explains, he tried to rape me. There's videotapes of him doing it to other girls. She doesn't believe him. James is obviously in a panic, like, please Alyssa, stop, she has a gun. And then she's coming out with the truth, like, straight up, and then she's even saying, like, we understand if you want to kill us, but if you don't think that we've suffered or paid for what we've done, then you're wrong. We've been suffering ever since this happened.
And also she says, like, if you kill us, then what? Like, that doesn't make the pain go away.
It doesn't. And then all of a sudden, like, bang, bang! 2 bullets to their heads, dead. And then the camera, is, like, steady. Like, on the same shot, just for, like, a good, like, 10, maybe more seconds.
Yeah, holds the shot, doesn't
it?
it?
Just holds the shot, and it feels like forever. And like, me and you kind of, like, sat up from our seats, and we're, like looking at each other, and we kind of went silent.
And we're like, oh my god.
Yeah, and then we're like,
have they actually just killed them off?
No. And it's that great moment. You're just like, no way. Did they actually? And you're like, and this whole time, obviously, when before the season came out, we thought James might be dead as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, oh, we finally see that he's okay. and then all of a sudden they're both dead, and I was like, oh no. And then it came to my head. I was like, nah. There's one more episode. They cannot kill them on the episode before the last.
And this is all happening whilst this one shot is just being.
Yeah, exactly. We're
stood
we're
there.
still like freaking out, and then you hear Alyssa's voice,
Yeah.
Bonnie, and then cuts back to Bonnie, and then they're both still there. So
She
it's
was daydreaming.
obviously hard just thinking of the moment, because she like prior to like meeting them, she hasn't killed anyone until she accidentally does it in the motel,
Yeah.
which she kills the hotel owner.
Mm.
Who kind of had it coming.
Yeah,
You
he
know,
was being
he was
annoying.
weird. I really didn't like that character. It was just it felt really forced.
Mm.
You know, he's like, oh, I'm the awkward guy. I want to join in. I'm funny, and I was just like, nah, I don't like this guy. And then he died, and I was like, yeah, do you know what?
Oh,
Yeah,
fair
that was
enough,
quite
yeah.
good.
What was your other favourite moment?
My other favorite moment is the ending.
Oh, yeah.
I loved seeing these characters finally come together, because the whole season's like building up for James to finally tell her that he loves her, whereas Alyssa is in like limbo, because she's now married, and she doesn't know whether she wants to be with the other guy
Yeah,
or
so Alyssa gets married on the day that James comes back into her life to a guy.
yeah,
And yeah, this all kind of happens in the subsequent days afterwards.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, it comes to the end. They've ran away together. It's just after James like pours his dad's ashes, and then the whole season's like Alyssa's not acting right. She's not acting herself. She's not eating or anything. She's not doing anything right. And then finally she says to him, "Do you know what? I'm really hungry." And then he's like,
That was
"Same." What?
that accent.
What? Was
It's
that
not good.
terrible?
It was terrible.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll just shut up for the rest of the podcast. uh,
Shocked and offended.
I thought it was okay. Yeah, and then it cuts off. They're at this like beautiful like hilltop, like scenery, looking down over the water in like a town, and then there's just a little like chippy van,
Yeah.
and they're like, like paper tray of chips that they're sharing, and then it relates back to your favorite moment where Alyssa says to him, I heard you say, I know what you said. I heard you say what you said at the car,
place,
yeah, the car impound. And then he's kind of like, oh shit, like, he's like, what did I say? What did you hear?
And then the voiceover's like, I know exactly what
I
she's
know,
talking
yeah,
about.
exactly. And yeah, and then she says she feels the same too, but she doesn't actually say it. She's like, I feel the same too. And then at the end it says like James goes, I love you too. And then she's just like, right, don't get ahead of
Yeah.
yourself or whatever.
I need
And-
some serious psychiatric help. And
yeah. I love that as well. It's like, I need time. I need some serious psychiatric help, but I do feel the
Yeah.
same. And then and then that's how it ends, which makes me excited for where they're gonna go next.
Yeah.
Because I'm not surprised. Even the actors said that they didn't know they were gonna come back for the second season.
Mm.
And I thought that maybe they will kill them off this season, or they'll move on from them now. But you never know; they could move on from them.
I think that's the nice thing about each series is they've been thought of in an entirety, so that after the first season, if that was it, then that would have been fine. This
Yeah.
one, if that's it, then that's gonna be fine.
I disagree about the first season. I would have been so unhappy if we never found out what happened to them, because it cut to black,
Mm,
and
I
I'm
think-
not a fan of.
I
cut
think
to
I would have
blacks.
just assumed that James had died and Alyssa had like gone to jail or something. Would have been one of those.
Nah, I did say to you that before we watched this, I was like, I swear, if they straight up start the show with and James is dead, I'm out.
Mm.
Because you can't have one without the other, because they're a package deal.
What didn't you like about this series?
Ooh, interesting. Um, I I didn't like how Alyssa got married.
That was exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah. Um, and then I didn't um like a couple of the like the new characters. I just felt they were unnecessary and they spent too much time on them when
Mm,
it was unnecessary.
I agree. No, I yeah, 'cause the whole problem that they create is that Alyssa's got married to this guy that she's met when her and James were
Very
apart.
quickly, you know,
Yeah,
they
very
plow
quickly.
through this guy.
And then obviously James has shown up and she gets married and then she like runs away from the wedding and runs off with James for a while. Um yeah, the thing is, I feel like it still would have worked if she just had a boyfriend and then James has come back into her life and she's like, I'm with this guy, but then James is here that I really like. I like just torn between the two. They didn't have to put in this whole marriage
Like even
thing.
if the guy like proposed to her like just before James showed
Yeah.
up or something, and then it's a build up whether she's going to say yes or not,
Yeah.
and like go through with it, and then they disappear, and that would have been fine. I mean, we would have missed out on Alyssa pretty much going through this whole series in a wedding dress,
That was
which
funny, I
I
have to
did think was
say.
funny. It's just really, it's like it's so good for the show.
Mm.
It's definitely the like
Looks wise, it's
yeah,
great. Yeah.
it fits the show really well, which we wouldn't have had,
Mm.
or even if she was like at our wedding dress fitting, and then she ran off with it.
Yeah.
That would have been funny because then she would have stole a
Yeah.
dress and then it
Because
gets
it's kind
destroyed.
of just brushed over. Like she goes off and then she comes back and she finds the guy and she's like, I want a divorce. And then that's kind of
Yeah, because
it.
we don't care about this guy. Like,
No.
there's not enough for us to be like, oh, that poor guy.
I mean,
He kind of got
I do
messed
feel a
over.
bit bad because like he literally like has kind of forgives her for running away on their wedding day, and then like is talking about the house that he's gonna build for them and their future, and then she's like, I want a
Uh,
divorce. I was like,
yeah,
oh,
like,
poor
oh,
guy, man. He's like really had it rough.
yeah. You do watch that and you're like, oh, this is quite sad. But I don't feel bad for him because I don't care about him.
Yeah,
He's
you
not.
just want Alyssa and James
Yeah,
to get together,
exactly.
don't you?
He's not an established character. It's not like they built up his like this
Mm.
relationship with Alyssa. It's not like he is better for her. You know,
Yeah.
like he's pretty much Alyssa has like a recap of like her past year at the start of the series, and then it's just like really brushed over. Like, yeah, he's a good kisser. Yeah, sex is okay, and yeah, he's really innocent. He's kind of like a dog,
Mm.
but in a good way. And then she's like, "Let's get married," and then
Yeah.
and then that's it. It's legit. Like, yeah, they're getting married, but it's obviously the way she says it is like, "I want to do something different," and I imagine she wants to do it to make her mum happy as well,
Yeah.
'cause she's going
Also,
through a lot.
she talks about the fact that she's not felt like quite right since everything happened and not like in her body. So probably that sense of I'll just get married to this nice guy, like that sense of security is
Yeah,
probably what's appealing. And then obviously once James comes back, and it probably makes her realize that actually it's not changed anything. Because her mum even asked, "How do you feel?" And she says, "I feel exactly the same as I did yesterday, like before I got married." So actually, like in hindsight, thinking about it, it's kind of to show that she's tried to fix her like internal problems by being secure, but that
yeah,
doesn't actually fix it. It's
no,
just masking everything.
and so it's just a waste. A
Yeah.
waste of like story. And I was like, I mean, it could have worked.
Mm.
Um, but nah, I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan. I actually thought it might have been better if the whole dilemma is that her and James have to get married. Because obviously the promotion of this was like she's in her wedding dress and all that, and then I was like, oh my god. And then James is in a suit. We saw that
Yeah, I
James was in
know.
a suit, so I was like, oh my god, did they have to get married to like get out of something or something? Like I don't know, like to get out of one of the situations that they've been through. I don't know how that would have worked, but
Yeah.
but that's the way I saw it, and it actually kind of made me go, oh, that's really interesting because they actually kind of like despise each other, even
Mm.
though like at the end of the first season they kind of showed how much they actually really care for each
Yeah.
other.
I have another interesting fact.
Go on, Emily.
My fact is that on set, Alex, who plays James, had to wear a sandwich bag over his hand, that had all the
What?
prosthetics of the burn on it.
Yeah. Ooh.
So yeah,
Sorry.
that is my fact. That yeah, can you imagine that? That'd be so awkward. Like just every day you've got your hand in a sandwich bag.
Yeah, it was like a Tesco's sandwich bag,
Yeah,
and apparently it smelled really bad.
I mean, I don't doubt it.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's quite funny. Like when you think of it, like loads of actors have been through like that. They go through all this makeup and then they have to try and protect it.
Yeah.
Um.
So it doesn't have to be done again.
Yeah, exactly. What I haven't mentioned yet is like a series staple is the voiceovers
Oh
and
yeah,
the internal monologues, which is my favorite thing.
they
I
are
think
very funny.
it's so good for like comedic timing and all that, and for some reason they're it gets better and better every time. So essentially, it's just the characters' internal thoughts. I think even it happens to Bonnie as well.
Yeah, it does. I
Where it's
think.
just them explaining the situation or how they're feeling. But it can lead up to some like really funny moments, and yeah, we haven't mentioned them yet, and I just had to bring it up.
I think that's the thing. The cinematography
Oh,
and
that's another
the
thing.
the technicality of how they shot this series, as well as the first one, they are just fantastic, and they add to the humor and the look of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's brilliant. 'Cause if you didn't know,
Oh, another fact. We're whipping them out today. Got loads of them.
get my notes out here. um, did you know that the series is actually based off a comic book?
Hmm.
Yeah, by Charles Forsman. And the comic book is actually set in America, whereas this show is set in Britain. And they made some changes for the British show, such as in the comic book, James puts his hand in a garbage disposal, which is a thing in America, and they changed it in the show that he put his hand in a deep fat fryer instead, so that he can feel pain. Because obviously in the UK we don't have garbage disposals.
That seems like a scary thing.
I know, can you imagine that? Do you think you could do that?
What do you mean?
Put your hand in a deep fat fryer
Absolutely not.
to feel something?
No.
No, never could I. I mean, I get like scared when it like starts like shooting
Spitting,
out,
yeah.
spitting oil, and I'm like,
Oh my god, I'm so bad with anything hot. I end up burning myself anyway, but God,
just a common thing.
it does happen a lot. There was one week where I kept coming into work with loads of burns, and they were like, "How are you doing this?" And I was like,
This is just me.
"This is just my life."
What are you
know.
talking about? Did you not know that I'm dangerous around anything? Anyway, I'm like, what would you give? What's your final rundown of the there's fireworks going off right now.
Dramatic.
Yeah, this is for our dramatic ending. What's your final rundown of the show, and what would you give it out of 5?
So my final rundown is that this show has followed up its first series fantastically. It did have, some moments and some characters that weren't too great. Like, you just want to focus on Alyssa and James and Bonnie. But I did enjoy everything that they kind of added to the storyline. I really loved the storyline. I love the way it all tied together. And the characters are great. Like, they're still the same quirky characters, but they've like grown and developed since the first series. So I thought this was a really good sequel to the first season. I really enjoyed this, and I can't wait to see if they do another series, where that will go, and what the writing will be like for that one, because so far it's been fantastic. So I think out of 5, I would have to give this series 4.5 dead bodies out of 5.
Dead bodies.
Yeah. Murdered professors out of 5.
Yeah, murdered pedophile professors. Yeah, I agree with
Mhm.
that. Yeah, I totally agree. This was a really solid follow up to a fantastic show. Um, it wasn't perfect. I definitely felt like there wasn't as much going on. It didn't feel as exciting, and it was pretty much like the first series was like this is ridiculous.
I was trying to do a self-tape earlier and the fireworks were going off as well.
It's just I don't know why there's obviously people with their leftover fireworks like just letting them better get my money's worth now, which is inconvenient to us. Jeez. Anyway,
Sorry. Continue.
I see the first season as like the foot fully flat on the gas, like full force. It's going at some speed, and there's no time to stop. You have some incredible moments with like of the main characters interacting with other people, and seeing them get out of like every other situation that they've ended up in. Whereas I see this show is it's a very slow pensioner driving the car. Not in a bad way, but I felt
It
like
is slower.
it
Yeah.
is slower, and I felt like it was a bit sluggish. Um,
It builds up more.
yeah, I felt like this one was maybe a bit more cautious, as in like the first show they had a great script and a great story to tell, so they could go all out because they knew it was going to be fantastic. Whereas now they had to write a new series, which is their own work, obviously, because the
Yeah.
first season's based off the comic, whereas now the second season is going to be their own story, and now they have to show where the characters are going, which which makes me feel they're a bit more cautious of what they're going to do. Everything has to be explained now, and everything, um, you know, it doesn't like fall flat in its face. But that doesn't mean it's a bad show. It's just not what I loved about the first season.
Fair enough.
I loved the addition to Bonnie. Another like great character, very sinister and kind of ridiculous as well. Like this girl who's been through like so much shit, and now she wants people, whoever does her wrong gets paid for it.
Mm.
But she's just not like that threatening. But she thinks she
Yeah.
is. But obviously she's just a bit awkward and clumsy as well. She, it's funny seeing her like struggle to actually murder these two when she could have literally done it. Her first interaction,
Mm.
just put a gun to them, and then that would have been it. Which makes it her a more interesting character because once again she's a child as well. Yeah, I didn't like the whole wedding thing. I'm so sorry about these fireworks. I didn't like the whole wedding thing, but it is amazing to see these characters back together again because they're so likable and they're somewhat relatable as well. I would give this a solid 4 out of 5.
Ooh.
Because it's not as good as the first,
Yeah.
but it's definitely a solid season, and it, like yourself, it makes me very excited to see where this show is gonna go now.
Mm.
And now we have to wait. Hopefully, we don't have to wait another 2 years. Hopefully, they're a bit quicker with this one.
Yes, a bit quicker, but still fantastic writing.
But yeah, thank you so much for listening to our podcast. Please follow us on all social media platforms. Well, such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the Make Do Review. We have also posted a trailer
Fancy.
for our podcast for any new listeners. So if this is your first episode that you're listening to, please check out our trailer, and we feel it fully explains our situation and the situation of the podcast and what it's for. And thank you to Anchor, who is our podcast provider, for giving us such an amazing platform and tools to make things such as our trailer and to post our podcast.
We're not being paid to say that.
We
though.
can't yet because they only do it in the US.
So
but-
yeah, we're definitely not getting paid to say that. But
But that should show my love and appreciation to Anchor. They're very good, and if you want to create your own podcast, then I highly recommend using Anchor. Anything else to say, Emily?
go and watch the show if you haven't already. I mean, if you've listened to all of this, you've ruined it. But go and watch it anyway. But please let us know what you think of the characters in the show on our social media, because we love this. Or you can email in anything, including suggestions and inquiries, to the Make Do Podcast at gmail.com.
Amazing. You-
That's all I had to say.
You're
Extra.
a pro.
Thank you. I practiced.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Please subscribe and follow us. Thank you so much. We love doing this. And that will do.
That will do. Bye, guys.